Good morning. I am Anatoly Anatolisova, and this is Patriots Must Rise. Let me tell you a story. In the story, we have a small country with the bulk of the rare minerals that the world needs for these batteries that they don't know how to make and they don't know how to recycle. These batteries that once actually made, actually powered up, become radioactive, so they don't know how to recycle them. This country is under attack, appearing supposedly by a neighboring country that we know as Russia. Russia has stepped aside and said, we will withdraw repeatedly if you just give us the region that no longer wants to be a part of Ukraine. The region that has all the minerals that the globalists want for these, to make these batteries and these warheads that they are so greedily in need of. The people voted. They want to go back home. You got to keep in mind, Ukraine has only been independent for 30 years. We're not talking about a historic nation with multiple generations that have been independent. We're talking about 30 years. One generation, not even one generation. Because biblically a generation is 40 years. So in this conflict, we have Germany, we have Poland, we have Switzerland, we have America, not only funding the conflict to keep this region out of Russia's hands, but they're keeping the war going. Ukraine has lost the war. They have no personnel to keep it fighting. They have no will to fight. So what do the Allied forces do? They give them, in just America's case, They give them a battalion of Abrams tanks. They give them 13 Trident nuclear-capable submarines with warheads. They give them a joint strike fighter that the world has been terrified to use. And then they claim that this fighter crashed somewhere in the Midwest with no debris. But intelligence sources have already confirmed that all of a sudden Ukrainian pilots are flying an F-35. Yes, this is a very complex piece of machinery. But it's a complex piece of machinery that, and this is actually why the theft of the F-35 was able to happen. It doesn't need a pilot. Okay? It has drone capabilities. And that drone could be flown from a hotel room. It could be flown from NORAD. And with the help of satellites, it could be flown around the world. So all of a sudden it goes missing. You pay a few people off saying and have them claim that they saw this wreck. Yet people that are on the ground that actually have been paying attention are going, "Where's the pilot?" I think I just told you where the pilot is. Alright, so we've got the Allied forces keeping this conflict going. Russia wants to pull out. Okay, but at this point, we're at World War III. We've got the whole world against Russia. And if Russia pulls out, if Russia keeps or doesn't stop the advancement, the Allied forces will advance into Russia. Because it's not Ukrainian forces that are fighting this war anymore. It got to the point that Vladimir Zelensky is actually trying to get the countries in Europe that allowed fighting age men to escape to these countries to force them back to fight for Ukraine. So we know that they don't actually have the soldiers to fight. They're claiming that they don't even have the weapons to train the people that are there. We know that's not true. You've got the most mineral-rich mountain range in the world. And what would you be doing with the most mineral rich mountain range in the world if you're already at war? You'd be making weapons. So the propaganda machine does not actually stand up to the scrutiny of common sense. Now we have a bill that did not pass Congress to fund Zelensky and his conflict. The people of Donbass consider themselves Russian. This has been a civil war that has been going on since 2014. Now the world's involved. Now the world has a stake in the matter, because they realize that if the mountain range falls under control of Russia, these minerals will not actually see the international trade. And I don't think they should. I don't think it's right for the rest of the world to assume that these minerals are the world's. But they're pushing a Green New Deal. A Green New Deal that is not possible without the minerals to make these batteries that don't... The batteries are basically the Betamax cassette tape of the 1980s. I don't know how many people that watch this actually understand what I'm saying here, but in the 1980s, Betamax was the precursor to the VHS tape. I think it stayed on the market for maybe 3 years. And then VHS moved into the market, and Betamax just faded out. Kind of like DVDs. DVDs, once Blu-ray hit the market, kind of went to the wayside. But then the technology advanced even further, and streaming services like Netflix, where you could just watch the video without even needing the hardware to store the information, happened. By the way, you can't fly these drones without the technology that the streaming services came up with. Think about that. You can't fly the F-35 without the massive data bank streaming through the air to make the advanced calculations that it would need for you to be sitting comfortably in a Hilton and make a nuclear bomb strike on, let's say, Moscow. And yes, the F-35 was designed to do that. it is a it's a Typhoon. It's a joint strike fighter that is nuclear capable. It has Harrier technology, meaning it can lift vertically. It does not need a runway. You can land the F-35 on a helipad on the top of a building. So in an urban combat situation, like most of the Ukraine war actually is, where all the roads are heavily bombed and you don't actually have runways, you don't have a viable runway, you need something like a Harrier to actually take off. Like I said, they lost the war. It is the Allied forces that are funding and supplying troops for this conflict. The liberals are saying that it's not right or that Putin can't win. We can't allow Putin to win. Putin's not the bad guy here. And I've gotten into that in other videos along the way. Putin is not the bad guy here. Zelensky's no angel. And his people are suffering. This is not a democracy. It never has been. In fact, as the conflict moves on and Zelensky keeps playing the political puppet, the only reason that the people that are still in Ukraine are in Ukraine is because he's frozen any extraditions. He has not allowed people to leave the country that happen to be Ukrainian citizens since I think January of last year. And that's basically because he needs the people to be sandbags. He needs them to take the bullet so he doesn't. He's no angel. And I think the Western world needs to actually understand this. The fighting in Ukraine has actually been going on since 2014, as I've already said. And it's the Donbass region that has seen most of the fighting. The reason for this conflict has always been that there's a large portion, mostly in the Donbass region, because Donbass is Russia. That's a part of a part of the treaty that happened to break up the borders of the USSR around the time of the fall of the Berlin Wall. When communism fell, when the Cold War ended, the division lines between the two countries were drawn. and Russia was given the Donbass region. But through a lot of really, really strange politics, it fell into the possession of Ukraine, but the Ukrainian people didn't live there. They were Russians. At this point, they call themselves Ukrainian because that's what's on their passport. But remember, this is only one generation. Now maybe the start of 3, where people my age would just barely remember the USSR and what it was like to live under the USSR. But the ultimate reality is that the people of the Donbass region voted. They officially separated from Ukraine. They would actually be on the Russian side of the border if it wasn't for the fact that Zelensky does not want to let go, and the Allied forces do not want to let go of this mineral-rich region that is not under China's control. There are other parts of the world that have even richer resources as far as the cobalt, nickel, titanium, borium, and a few others that happen to be in those mountains. And very necessary for the production of these batteries that is just passing technology. We're already on the other side of making the batteries that are running these stupid electric cars that don't even stay charged obsolete. But hey, this is politics. The people that say they were voted for but never were, are making the decisions. I mean, seriously. Does anybody actually believe that somebody voted for Maxine Waters? Does anybody actually believe that people kept Nancy Pelosi in office? I can't think of anybody that actually believes that Joe Biden was voted for. But these are the people that are making the decisions. And with the scandals that are surrounding Hunter Biden and Joe Biden, that's leading to impeachment of a stolen office. We are seeing the actual reasons for this war. As we see these reasons unfold, I think the right side of history is going to be very clear. And there isn't going to be a liberal that will actually be able to say, hey, we were right. I support the Ukrainian people. I have a lot of friends, and I know their families happen to still be in Ukraine. But the people that are pulling the strings, putting these people into harm's way, are not there to protect the Ukrainian people. They're there to push forward the military-industrial complex that is an international issue. Okay? Russell Brand is being attacked right now for calling out this complex. JFK was killed for it. Joe Biden was installed for it because of the fact that Donald Trump was trying to destroy it. Anyway, if anything that I'm saying is resonating with you, please like, subscribe. Get some people in the fight. Share the video. There's a link in the description to make donations. This is something that we as the free nations of the world have to be on top of, because these elite are literally using the plebeian as cannon fodder. We have to be able to turn around and say no. Our lives are worth more than yours. So please, like, subscribe, but most of all, live free, die well, and love your neighbor as Christ has loved you.